Bless the love, royal family. Give thanks for life. This is the African Liberation Network. I'm the host, the Honorable Prophet Daniel, and I'm here this evening with the Honorable Brother President John Hargrove of the Universal Negro Improvement Association in Atlanta. Um, yes, and we're here for another episode of the Marcus Garveyite lessons, and principles of the UNIA. And tonight's topic is the aims and objectives of the UNIA, which will give us a good insight into what it is that Marcus Garvey set out to do with his organization and with his people. So at this time, I'll turn it over to the Honorable President to give us a rundown of, the aims and objectives of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Blessed love, Brother John. Welcome.
Greetings. Thank you, Prophet Daniel, and greetings to the network. Tonight's topic, as you said, is the aims and objects of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Very important topic. This is actually when we first discussed having this program. This was one of the potential first topics that we were going to discuss, was the aims and objects of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. However, when you look at the text of the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Message to the People, Course of African Philosophy, aims and objects of the Universal Negro Improvement Association are reserved for lesson 3. First 2 lessons, as we discussed previously, number 1 is titled Intelligence, Education, Universal Knowledge, and How to Get It. But it basically focuses on the study of history, specifically the history of man. Second lesson, titled Leadership, focuses on the characteristics of leadership and reminds us to always keep ourselves a step ahead intellectually if we want to be in the realm of those we consider leaders of our community. And in the third lesson, he touches on the aims and objects of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. And we should understand that if anyone that's aware of Black nationalist organizations, Nation of Islam, they have what they want on the back of their Muhammad Speaks newspaper, or Final Call newspaper now. The Black Panther Party has their 10-point program. But any legitimate organization has what you would consider a 10-point program, a aims and objects, whatever it may be. And these outline the fundamental principles that the organization stands for. This is the reasoning as to why the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey felt the need to create the Universal Negro Improvement Association and the solutions that the Universal Negro Improvement Association would provide. Without any further ado, we'll go through the original 11 aims and objects of the UNIA, and I'll point out as of recently, there's one that's been removed, and I'll point that out as we get to it. The first aim of the Universal Negro Improvement Association is to build a universal confraternity amongst our race. And the word confraternity is synonymous with brotherhood. It's like the word fraternity and sorority, but it includes both genders. So it is Garvey talks about the UNIA as the fraternal side of the organization. That's where we make our oaths, our bonds, our familial relationships and familial ties is in the UNIA, and in the ACL is our business ties and business relationship. But we all know, well, many of us that are followers of Garvey know one of his famous quotes was, the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. So the first aim, when you think about the first aim, that's what you should think about, is Garvey's acknowledgement that the very first fundamental thing that we have to do is organize our people, bring our people together, and have all of our people underneath this one banner that Marcus Garvey created that we know of as the red, black, and green flag. So that's the first aim.
Yeah, give thanks. That's pretty clear and to the point.
Okay. Well, second aim is, as it says, to prompt the spirit of pride and love, but it basically means to promote the spirit of pride and love. When Garvey expounds on that, he basically says that we should understand that God made us perfect. And one of Garvey's most famous speeches, he talks about the image of God. And he says that if we're Black and we're created in the image of God, then God must in some sense be Black. So Garvey teaches us that our features, our African features, dark melanin, wide nose, full lips, our kinky hair, these are things that God didn't do on accident. And we must embrace and begin to see these features as features of beauty. Garvey, there's only so many ideals or ways of thinking and perspectives, Afro-centered, African-centered, European-centered, or Asian, Eastern-centered. And we, as African people, must define our standards of beauty based upon those that look like us. So if we begin to adopt other people's standards of beauty, we will see them as beautiful, and we will see ourselves as ugly. But Garvey teaches us, number two, straight up front, God made us perfect. He didn't make us this way by mistake. He didn't make different colors by mistake. If God wanted, he could have made us all the same race or the same color. So the fact that we are, as the human race and even as an African race, distinct from others physiologically, that's something that we have to embrace, and we have to have pride and love for.
Yes, and it's really important for us. The reason why that's a really important thing is because of the transatlantic slave trade and the plantation and the self-hate that was taught to us and forced upon us, in that period. So, because normally you wouldn't have to reiterate or really make people really see beauty in themselves. But, after we had been taught that Jesus and God is white and that, straight hair and small nose and all of that stuff is actually what's beautiful, then that's why Mark Garvey came with this as a part of his program to reverse and undo the white supremacy teaching. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And one of the things that Garvey mentioned in his time, which is still fairly prevalent today, is the skin bleaching. And to my knowledge, I haven't been on the continent, but to my knowledge, that's still something that's very much an issue on the continent is skin bleaching. So all of these things where we try to alter our appearance to match someone else's standards of beauty, we believe is something that we should not practice. We should love ourselves as God made us, our kinky hair, our afros, whatever it may be. As long as we're clean and we're healthy, that should be the standard of beauty, not necessarily, as you said, straighter hair or fairer complected skin.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the third aim, let me see. Oh man, always mess up on these. Assist the needy. So I'm gonna go in the third and fourth. I'm gonna just say them together. The third and fourth: assist the needy and reclaim the fallen. I believe the third is Reclaim the Fallen. But let's start with Reclaim the Fallen. For us, Reclaim the Fallen, and both of those are fairly synonymous. They are charitable endeavors of the UNIA. So those in need. Reclaim the Fallen comes down to, for us, Division 421, we define it as homelessness, mental disability or mental issues, imprisonment, those brothers that are incarcerated, victims of the Ma'afa, as President Ross Marvin teaches. That post-traumatic slavery syndrome that we still deal with, sexual confusion, homosexuality, drug addiction, any of these things that take our people's minds and focus away from our collective struggle would be a way of reclaiming them. And then assist the needy, very similar, charitable. So when you think about those in need, homeless individuals, feeding programs, youth programs, clothing drives, those type of things are ways in which we assist the needy. And Garvey says that one of our highest endeavors should be to assist the needy members of our race. And he also prefaces, he says that we have to make sure that they are genuinely serious in regards to their need. A lot of our people today and in Garvey's time would profess a need, but in reality, they wouldn't, their situation wouldn't require as much need as they profess. So reclaim the fallen and assist the needy, charitable endeavors of the UNIA. So 1, organize our people globally. Number 2, have a sense of pride in who we are and what God made us. 3 and 4, charitable, help those of our race that are in need. Though that's how 3 and 4 kind of lays out. Number 5, and number 5 is actually the one that was removed. The way it was originally written, and we did have an issue with the way it was originally written. It says that the UNIA has a aim to civilize the backwoods tribes of Africa. And as we read that collectively in around 2020, amongst the divisions throughout the nation, that was one of the things that kind of stood out for everybody. It's like, hold on, wait a minute. Who are we to call Africa, African traditions backwards or quote unquote uncivilized? Who are we, now that we've gone through 400 years of slavery and indoctrination of Europeans? Who are we to say who is and who isn't civilized? So we had to look at ourselves and we came to the decision that it shouldn't be, well, the way I understood it was it shouldn't be worded that way. I thought my understanding was we would change it to help civilize the tribes of Africa or help the tribes of Africa. But at the end of the day, they took it out completely. Any questions or comments on that? Number 5 was, one second. One of the way Garvey says it in Philosophies and Opinions, he talks about it. He says, we at one day we will have to, as Africans throughout the diaspora, will have to recognize and respect our vine and fig tree. So the place in which we came from, and that we believe is Africa. And he also said that our goal, when we say one God, one aim, one destiny, that one aim, and this is a hidden thing that not a lot of people know, but that one aim relates to building a sovereign nation on the continent of Africa. So Garvey felt that the natural home, the natural base of operations for us as a people had to be Africa, and it couldn't really be. It didn't make any sense for it to be any other place. For us to try to have it in India or America or South America or Europe or Australia, it just didn't make sense. So that's what aim number 5 speaks to.
If I may, for 1 second. When I read that the first time I read that number 5, I definitely, you know, I didn't like it. I didn't like to hear him say that, but we have to understand that Marcus Garvey was a Catholic Christian. Yeah, and so his mindset, of course, is saying, it was from a Christian perspective. Now that's one part of it, but then also I would also like to say that is not every African tradition that I think should continue. Some of these things need to be examined and re-examined. You know what I mean? Because just because something's been done for thousands of years doesn't necessarily mean it makes sense and that we should continue to do it. So it's like, yeah, there needs to be respect on both sides, and we just need to examine ourselves, looking at each other as a reflection of each other, and be honest and say and really say, okay, these things we can leave behind us, these things we can advance with, and just go through with a better understanding of ourselves and of our traditions. Some things maybe it could be like, like how they have like say like exhibitions where people will like dress up like how they used to and do the things to like show people the old traditions, but we don't necessarily have to keep doing that like that's our way of life, just because it's ancient, because not every ancient practice is necessarily a good practice. Like some people like to glorify things just because they're old or because it's coming from an old book or something like that, but not everything in these books, not everything that people do is really worth continuing.
Yes.
You just have to be open and honest. Go through, brother.
Yeah, it's a very delicate balance. That's one thing I'll say is it's a very delicate balance because, yeah, like you said, I mean, not everything needs to stay, but yeah, it's just a delicate balance, and we have to make sure everybody's at the table when we make that discussion or have that discussion, make that decision. The key thing for us, we understand the principle of Africa is our motherland. That's in the slogan, Africa, the Africans, those at home and those abroad. So we can't forget about Africa at the end of the day. The main issue was how the aim was being laid out. But I definitely understand what you're saying. Yeah, Garvey. Yeah, like you said, Garvey was a Catholic, but at the same time, we got to be careful with that because that's the same mentality that colonialism was successful with. Coming in with as they said, they come in, they give you a Bible, you pray, and then when you put your hand up, they got the land, you got your book. But that was Christian colonialism. But for us, it's just about having everybody at the table, understanding what is what's best for us to keep and what's best to get rid of.
Yeah. It's our decision to make in our own spectacles, not by somebody else's, standards, just what we agree on.
Yes. We should all be excited to achieve that. We still got work to do. The next aim, number 6. Number 6 is it's been rewritten, but in a sense, it is to it says to work for the independent Negro nations in every community, is how it's written in Message to the People. But it basically means wherever there is a significant number of our people, we should be working together with that community and or nation. So for us in modern time, since there are so many organizations and quote unquote nations, that is our objective, to work beyond quote unquote on the other side of the aisle. So a melanated or African group that has a different belief, like the Nation of Islam, like the Moorish Science Temple, we would consider them a different nation. But aim number 6 promotes for us to work with those nations. And Garvey says it in the text. He says, the goal is not for us to have one great racial nation. It's for us to have a great racial empire. And that empire consists of all nations of our race. So that's what aim number 6 is about, is understanding that our race, our blood, the red bar at the top of the red, black, and green flag, it goes beyond national, and religious boundaries. So whether you're, Niger or Ghana, whether you're a Christian or Muslim, as a race, we should be under the same empire. So that's what number 6 is about.
Unity without uniformity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But yeah, our blood, it is our essence, our descendancy that unites us. Not our individual titles, not where the boat dropped us off or where our people traveled to and we were born there, not what language we speak, but it's in essence who we are, and where we come from. That's what unites us. So that's an overview of aim number 6. Questions, comments before I go to number 7?
No, I would just say, the red, black, and green banner, is for all Black people, So that
Yes.
just that in itself speaks volumes, that it doesn't matter what your religion, your skin color necessarily, anything that you could use to be divided, you should ignore all of that and say, I'm Black, I'm African, and unite based on that alone.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's, that's it right there. So, the next aim is number 7. This is our protective. This is our protective directive. Number 7 relates to ambassadors and quote unquote representatives in the communities and or nations where our people are. So the purpose of that is to, at the end of the day, have representation. To make sure, I think as Garvey says, it is to make sure that no one is taken advantage of. So even if you live in a community where it's 100 Africans, there should be someone that can represent those 100 Africans, someone that can speak on behalf of those 100 Africans. And that's what number 7 is about, is to create these ambassadors, as Garvey said it. But those that and to establish the right to have ambassadors. That's something that we kind of take for granted nowadays, is the ability to speak for ourselves. But that's something that you actually had to stand on in Garvey's time. It's you had to make, that was part of the declaration, is, we don't appreciate, or we don't value how others are providing service for us. We want to provide service for ourselves. And that's what this is about, is we want to represent ourselves. We want to speak for ourselves. So number 7 is about, as I said, any community or group or nation where there is a group of Africans located, we feel that group should have the representation of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. And they should be organized and be a part of and working with. So they should have the ability to speak to the leadership of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. If they say, hey, we need, there was an earthquake and we need, diapers and water and all of this stuff, they should be able to have that network to communicate those needs. If there's a political crisis or a upcoming threat to political stability, those are things that should be able to be discussed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't really have too many questions about that. I would just like to emphasize, that that's really a real lofty ideal, and it's something it's feasible I would love for us to have that kind of representation internationally, Yeah, because oftentimes the people that they put to speak for us, if they're black, they're not really qualified, and if they're not black,
Yes.
we already know they're not gonna do it. They're not gonna do us any justice.
Yes. I mean, Garvey had a lesson in philosophy and opinions entitled "Traitors," but in that lesson, he spoke specifically on our leadership and how our leadership has failed us. But the UNIA, as we've talked about, and as I will continue to emphasize, the from what I understand, after 5 years of being involved with the organization, after over 2 years of serving as president, and over a year of being a district commissioner, the fundamental emphasis of the UNIA is to develop and increase the political awareness and political education of our people on an individual level and on a collective level. But it's about uh, knowing how to hold individuals accountable, but at the end of the day, at the highest level, knowing how to hold that office and knowing the responsibilities of that office. So, as a people, this aim number 7 is pretty much held by the presidents of divisions, and it's up to the people to know how to hold that president accountable, know how to request, receipts, as they say, reports. Have you spoken to these people about this? Have they said anything, in regards to this month or the upcoming month? But we have to know how to hold individuals accountable, including the individuals that look like us. So that's part of, that's one of the underground principles of the UNIA that people don't necessarily emphasize very much, but that's really what Garveyism is about: is knowing, one, who's speaking for you, and two, how to develop yourself to speak for yourself and to speak for others.
Yeah, it's a good It's I would say to be able to pass to be in an organization such as the UNIA and to reach the level where you can speak on behalf of said organization
Yes,
means
sir.
that you have qualified yourself and that you are qualified to represent the people. Whereas sometimes people go through different channels and end up speaking for black people, but those channels aren't really in black people's interest. So then, therefore, what they say when they represent us isn't really in our interest as well. So I
Yes, sir.
like that principle.
And on that, if I am saying something that my constituents or the people that I quote unquote represent don't agree with, they should know how to hold me accountable as well. That doesn't mean that the things that I say are bulletproof, but you know, like you said, it's just about a responsibility of the words that are coming out of your mouth, and having others that can stand on, you know, um,
Hmm. All right, it froze up for a second. I didn't hear the last thing you said, but if you want to go through.
no, let me see. I was just saying this. No, when people being in a position where people elect you, an election is a good thing. Voting is a good thing. We're taught to vote. Voting is speaking. That's using your voice to let the population know what your desire is. So saying I want blue or I want red, that's powerful. Um,
Understood.
Keep going out.
Yeah. Well, you can go. You can continue, brother. I don't know what's happening. If it's
um,
just
but
my end or your end or what.
but being in a position where individuals are willing to speak, and allow you to speak for them, as you said, is something that we should honor. But at the end of the day, make sure these are the right individuals that are speaking for us.
All right.
All right, continuing, it's 7:02. I think we got a couple more. Number eight. Number eight is our spiritual um, objective, and it says to the name of the UNIA is to build a conscientious spiritual worship, and I believe it says amongst the tribes of Africa. But we take that as a global directive. We don't say that that's just Africa thing. But I like the way that was worded because it doesn't put us in the box of Christianity and or Islam. It says that um, when we say one God, we are in the box of monotheism. We don't believe in polytheism. We believe in monotheism, but we don't necessarily say Islam or Christianity. Although that's something that is still I'm not going to say up in the air, up for debate, but it is a personal relationship, and in my opinion, where I stand as president is that's none of my business. Like who you pray to, what you call, the God that you pray to is none of my business. I just encourage individuals to see that deity or God to have an image similar to their own. But what they call it, that's not my position. I have Garvey's position. I know what Garvey believed, but he never, in my learning, he never espoused that we should force his beliefs on others.
Right. Yeah, you can keep rolling in the sake of the time, the interest
Okay,
of time.
so we good. Check, check.
Yeah, well, I'm here. I don't know if it's my
Okay.
end or your end that's cutting out, but just you can just keep rolling
Yeah.
if it's
Number
fine.
Number 9 is the educational directive. Garvey basically says that we shouldn't be satisfied with the education that we're given. We should supplement the education that we're given by our oppressors with an education that we develop amongst ourselves. So the promotion of things like HBCUs would be something that Garvey would believe in. Establishment, highly he would believe in the establishment of the independent African institutions. That would be the ultimate Garvey ideal in our time. But at the end of the day, Garvey said that the white man's history is taught to laud or promote the white man and downgrade the Negro. We have to basically create our education to do the opposite, to promote our people and the legacy of our people. That's basically straightforward. It's educational.
Yes. Yeah, that's fine with me. I don't know if the YouTube I don't know if the YouTube family is witnessing the breakups or whatever, the stopping,
I'm
but
I'm 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 gonna wrap up. I'm gonna wrap up. Number 10 is economic. Basically, the global economic. We should be united and organized globally economically. The African continent has always and continues to provide all the resources for the world. There's no reason why we as African people should have to go outside of our own network for the things that we need. The African network, the African economic network, should be the strongest economic network on the globe. So we have to build that. We have to maintain that, and at the end of the day, we have to organize that from shea butter and bean pies to airport industries, airplane industries, shipping, as Garvey did, space exploration at some point, but all aspects from the beginning to the end,
the minerals that everybody is, raping
Yes,
us
sir.
for,
Yes, sir.
exploiting. Yeah,
Yes,
and
sir.
even our intellectual property that, the rest of the world follows and copies and steals after we create stuff, and then they go and make a whole bunch of money off of it, and we get the
Yes, sir.
lesser. We need to refine our own minerals. Yeah, and stop selling our things out cheap, and they get the crude, and then sell us back the refined at a high rate, and make all the money off of things. We need
Yes,
to
sir.
make the most of it. Mm-hmm.
But you understand, yeah, the entire process.
Yeah.
So the economics. And number 11, the last aim and objective is to do everything in our power to help in all Negro communities. And that one is basically the way Garvey says it. There's always work to be done in this endeavor, and no stone should be left unturned. So whether it is, a youth tutoring program, if that's not something that's listed specifically, if it is a elders reading program, if that's not something listed specifically in the previous 10 aims and objects, number 11 is where those are caught and obtained. So for me, as a Garveyite, coming into the knowledge of Garvey, and more so when I read it, I did not see any need for organization like the Black Lives Matter. For me, it was like, what are you guys creating that's new that hasn't been done before? But I have criticism for several organizations, especially the newer ones. But in my criticism, it comes down to what aim and object are you addressing that one of our previous master teacher programs has not addressed for us before.
Gotcha.
So those are the 11 aims and objects. That's what, if anybody asks what the UNIA is, what it stands for, outside of the preamble of the Constitution, I would direct them to the 11 aims and objects of the UNIA.
Thank you very much, Brother John. President John Hargrove of the Atlanta chapter of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. If you would please just again reiterate contact information and membership information before we close, and then we'll seal up.
Thank you, my brother. Contact information, that's the best way to reach us. Cell phone, you can call us, cell, or text us, 678-631-9404, 678-631-9404. You can reach us email, Atlanta Division 421@gmail.com, or you can fill out an application, cbpm.org/join 421. But call, text 678-631-9404. Any questions or concerns. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you for being with us. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule, for helping, people to understand what Marcus Garvey is all about, what the Universal Negro Improvement Association is all about. Because Marcus Garvey isn't, here in the physical form anymore, but his organization is his representation of himself, and it still exists. It's still relevant,
Yes,
still functioning. So if you want to, be a part of what Marcus Garvey started and stand for what Marcus Garvey stood for, there's an opportunity right there, so you don't have no reason why you don't, do
Yes,
what
sir.
Marcus Garvey said to do. So
Yes,
thank you
sir.
again, my brother, and we look
Thank
forward
you.
to the next time. Okay, go
Thank
ahead.
you, brother. And as you said, last thing, and I'll let you close out. Let's as we defend Garvey, I think the best way to do it is use his own words. He didn't leave. He left a lot of speeches, philosophies and opinions, selected writings and speeches, but also message to the people, course of African philosophy. So he did do a phenomenal job, in my opinion, of telling his own story. And defending himself in his time and having his words documented. So that's the first place that I would.
Okay, yeah. You said that's the first place that you would, and then cut off. What was the last thing you said?
The first place I would recommend any brother or sister that is interested on life, legacy, and philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey is go to his own words. He left a lot out there to defend himself. So let's lean upon what he left us as primary text and primary resources, and then we can build upon that amongst each other. But he did a great job, in my opinion, of speaking for himself, and that's always where I would point individuals and promote is to his own words, philosophy and opinions, selected writings and speeches, and message to the people, course of African philosophy.
I'll show you. All right. Well, give thanks again, my brother. Thank you for your presence. Thanks for your expertise and your knowledge. Thanks for sharing. And thank you also to Emmy Jakes Garvey for making his words and works available for us in this generation to still be able to read. Wanted to acknowledge that, as you said, he did this and he did that. She also was very fundamental in helping us in this generation. So without further ado, we,
Okay.
give thanks for everyone's viewership, and we can encourage you to come. We're here every other week, every other Saturday. So yeah, we look forward to it again. Thank you, brother.
Peace, brother. Race first.
Race first. Peace.